Minnesota became a state in 1858. It says so right up there on the flag. And it also says 1819, when Fort Snelling was established, and 1893, when our original flag was adopted. And that looked different than today. The original flag had a white field in the front, behind the seal, and if you looked at the back of the flag, it was blue. So if it's waving in the wind up on the flagpole, it would be white, blue, white, blue, white, blue. They changed that after a while to it was blue on both sides. They still had the 19 stars going around the seal, which refers to Minnesota being the 19th state after the original 13 states. So that makes us what, the 19th was there at the 32nd state. The top star there in our current flag is obviously bigger. I can't tell if it's bigger on this version right here or not, but that refers to us being the northernmost state at that time before Alaska. The North Star State. L'Étoile du Nord. L'Étoile du Nord.
L'Étoile du Nord.
L'Étoile means star. Du means of in French. And Nord means north. So Nordberg is not French, but Nord means north. Nordberg means North Hill. L'Étoile du Nord means star of the north. If you ever go to France, there's a train station in the northern part of Paris up there called Gare du Nord. It's the station of the north, busiest train station in Europe. Okay, enough about the flag. There's a lot of other symbolism there and all that. But Minnesota became a state in 1858. So how and why did we get there? We had already been a territory now for a couple of years. And the land had changed hands, the treaties opened up the land for people to move in as settlers. Population just exploded by the thousands. So Minnesota, they launched a drive to become a state. And the reason for that, we'll just go through three quick little reasons. See, when you're a territory, the federal government, Washington, they'll tell you who your leaders are. They will tell you what your laws are. They have much more control over you. But when you're a state, you can elect your own leaders. You can kind of have a say in your own laws. You have much more independence. Still part of the country, but much more independence. Very nice. All right. Now, when you're a territory, you do have representation at the federal level, at the national level. We sent Sibley there to represent the Minnesota Territory. But when you're a state, you have many more representatives there. And right now, 1858 time, this is right before there's this thing called a Civil War where there's a disagreement between the North and the South, and Minnesota might want to have a say in this federal decision on what to do. Reason 3, mentioned it before, when you're a territory, the federal government can tell you who your leader is. Well, when you're a state, you could vote your own in. So the population, the people can vote in their own leaders to represent them. It's kind of a nice thing within a statehood. Let's go through a few requirements of what needed to be taken care of before Minnesota became a state. First off, they had to be a territory, and that was already taken care of. Number 2, then people had to get together and they had to write up a constitution. Remember, a constitution is a written document that pretty much gives permission to the government to govern. It says how to organize and make decisions for its people. And of course, that constitution needs to be voted on, needs to be ratified, and then people need to vote in their government officials. And official number 1, our governor, first governor of Minnesota, who else but Henry Hastings Sibley. He's a name we've heard with the fur trade. He's a name we've heard as the first representative of the territory. Now he's our first governor, and the story's not done. We'll hear him later on in the next chapter as well. Every effort. In 1857, then, the Constitution was being written up. And what did it do for the people of Minnesota? First off, it told them where the boundaries were of the state. How big was the state? Where could they go before they went into a different territory or a different state or a different country even to the north? Another thing that the Constitution did for Minnesota is that it clearly defined who it was going to allow to vote for government officials, laws, and other matters of the state. They said that they would allow free white males to vote in elections to determine the future of Minnesota. Well, that's kind of weird. Free meaning not slave, because slavery was going on in the southern part of the United States, and it was a big thing at that time. White. So, yeah, it wasn't for a while now until diverse backgrounds were allowed to vote through amendments. They changed the Constitution to add in additional people groups, but this included not allowing Native Americans to vote within the land of what is now Minnesota. And to vote, you needed to be male. Females were not allowed to have that voice through voting either. And there were protest movements going on, trying to get that voice for different people groups, including females. So then through time, because the Constitution can be amended, it can be changed to better represent what the people want, that different people groups could have their voice heard through the voting process. And of course, the Constitution sets up this 3 branches of government thing. It allows the government to function and tells us how it all works. So how are these 3 branches of government divided and designed in the Constitution for Minnesota? Well, here you go. There was a concern that we would have too much power on top, so we would divide it up to balance that power. You'd have the legislative branch, you'd have the executive branch, and you'd have the judicial branch. You didn't want one person making the laws who would also enforce the laws, who would also interpret the laws. That could go very wrong if you have the wrong person in charge. So you divide that up. Ooh. This is what 3 branches will look like in St. Paul, Minnesota, our state capital. Okay, one part of our 3 branches, the legislative branch, it's their main job to make the laws for the people of Minnesota, to listen to their voices and to make those laws. They create the laws in 2 different groups, again, to balance power within the legislative branch, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Those 2 groups, they make decisions, they pass a law, or they write a bill in which they're going to give over to the executive branch. Another branch created by the Minnesota Constitution to help balance power is the executive branch. Now, it's their main job to enforce the laws created by the legislative branch. They take a look at them and they try to figure out who they need to make sure that those laws take effect here in Minnesota. The police department is a part of that branch. There are other pieces that the governor, who runs the executive branch, will set up his or her cabinet with a whole bunch of brilliant people there to help organize and enforce those laws. He also has the lieutenant governor who helps out with this. Now, the lieutenant governor is to the governor as the vice president is to the president at the federal level. Our governor right now is Governor Tim Walz. And maybe you've been hearing about him in the news recently because of the COVID. He's been out there on the TV a lot. The lieutenant governor right now is Peggy Flanagan. Peggy Flanagan, it's an interesting story there because she is a member of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, or of Chippewa, up in northern Minnesota. So she definitely has the insight into different aspects of Minnesota culture, including the American Indian culture. And then the third branch that we have there to help balance out power is the judicial branch. They interpret the laws. So after the laws are made in the legislative branch, they're enforced in the executive. They take a look at laws, how they're being enforced, and are they being enforced according to the laws of the Constitution? Are everybody's rights being protected? Okay, so that's how all 3 of these branches work together. They balance each other out. They sometimes have conflict, but it's designed that way. A little memory device to help us remember the 3 branches of government and their purposes would be to say, let's make every effort to juggle ice. All right? Hey, grab some ice. Here we go. Let's make every effort to juggle ice. Uh-oh. smaller than melting. All right, every effort, every effort. Ooh. Or I could just put it in the coffee and get that. Hey, have a great day. Let's be thankful for our Constitution. Bye-bye. Ooh.